Hey besties, it's Charlie with an I here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to use Procreate. It's going to be a beginner's guide. It's just going to be a brief guide. It has so many things about it, so I won't be able to give you pretty much like everything about it, but I will still try to do my best. First of all, to create a canvas, you go to this little plus icon and you can press screen size, and they have a bunch of other saved options. If you want to do your own screen size, you'd type it in here, and if you wanted to save it, you can just change the name of whatever you want to save it to. After you've created this, it should automatically be down here. For this, I'm just going to use screen size. Okay, so first of all, this is your gallery. It is where all of your artworks will be saved, and it is your gallery where you can draw. You can also do this little action to zoom into all of your pictures and double tap to go into the artwork itself. This is a paint, smudge and rubber tool. I'm going to start off with these. If you click the brush, the brush, you get to the library and you have a bunch of sections to choose from. You can select any one of them, and it will give you completely different brushes. You can also create brushes by using this little add button, but it is quite confusing, so I'm not going to get much into that now. You can also change the size by going here, and you can save a size by tapping this little plus button. So you can do small, you can get to the exact same size as you were. You can also change the opacity of your brush by going down here, and you can get different opacities, but I'll show you later how to change the opacity of a full layer, which is just what I do more often. You can do the exact same thing with the smudge tool. Just going to quickly show you. When there are two brushes, the smudge tool pretty much smudges it. You can choose with which brush it smudges. So you could literally smudge it with a wet acrylic, which as you can see gives a completely different effect. You can also change the size and opacity, but it doesn't really do much, to be honest. The opacity. The rubber or eraser tool does the exact same thing. You can choose from any of them or create one, and it literally just rubs it out seamlessly. If you were to be writing with, let's say, this brush, and you wanted to rub out with the same brush, you can tap and hold to rub out with the same brush. If you tap and hold, it won't do anything. You'd have to go back to the brush you were on originally, which in my case was literally just a hard blend, I think. And next is the color section. This is where you can see the color, which at the moment is black. If you tap this, it gives you a color wheel. You can also get the classic, which has the different hues. You can have a look at the harmony section as well, which gives you perfect colour combinations in complementary, split complementary, and the rest. You can change different hues, sorry, not hues, but like the saturation and brightness of it here. Next is the value one, which gives you the hex code, and over here are your palettes, which is just ultimately a place where you can save your brush colors. Let's say I was going to work with this blue and I later wanted to switch it to something else. I could put it there, simply tap it, and I'd be able to switch between my two. If I didn't save it, it wouldn't be a problem. I would literally just tap and hold to move it across. This is the color dropper tool, and it just copies the colors for you. If you wanted to create a new palette, you'd press the plus button and create new palette, but you could also do it from photos. Let's say that this is the picture I wanted to add in. If I go back to my palette section and I press the plus button, I can go new from photos, and I would just select the one I want, and that basically turns this picture into this one. You can also do this, which makes it so that you just hold it, drag it, drop it. Same thing. I'm always on the classic instead of the disc, but if you did want the perfect white or black, you just double tap and you'd have the perfect white, and you double tap, you get the perfect black. Oh yeah, and one more thing is that if you wanted let's say this blue to be your background color, it would be quite a painful process to do the whole thing. So what you can do is you can do the background color and select it. This automatically selects the color you selected as your background color. Or you can take the color and drag and drop it. This works for if, let's say you had a circle, you can literally take it, drag it and drop it, and it fills it in perfectly. Next, I'm going to show you a bunch of gestures. This is basically how to use Procreate, the tips and tricks. So first of all, there is the back, there is the undo, which you undo and redo you can find here, but the easiest way is to take two fingers and just tap, and if you wanted to redo, it's three fingers. To undo, redo. If you wanted to rapidly undo, you press and hold. If you wanted to rapidly redo, you press and hold. If you went in with four fingers, it would mean that it takes these grids away, and if you were to pinch your canvas, it fits it in perfectly. Tap it again with four fingers and it brings it back, or by tapping this button in the top left corner. If you wanted to zoom into the picture, you just use two fingers, and this can help you move around and navigate if you're busy with a much more difficult piece of work. If you wanted to make a circle, but you're not finding it to be as good as you want it to be, you can make a circle and wait for it. This makes the perfect shape or perfect circle. If you wanted it to be the actual perfect circle, take one finger and press it. This would make it. If you wanted to change the shape, you could go up here and you can pretty much do this and edit it as much as you want. This works for a bunch of shapes, including a rectangle, should work for a triangle, which it doesn't, but that's okay. It works for polyline. and a bunch of different things. So you can definitely experiment with that. Next, I'm going to be showing you how to use layers. These are features you can find in pretty much any drawing software, but it's something that's definitely worth learning whether you're on Procreate or not. So if you can see, if you were to be making a straight line and then another straight line, and you had to rub off some of the blue, just like traditional art, it would rub away everything. But if you were to do these on separate layers, so which is just this button here, by the way, and you make the first one, you go to the layers and make a new one and do the second one, means that whichever one you're on will be taken as it. So now only the blue is being rubbed out, now only the red is being rubbed out. You can also use the layers with the selection tool, but I won't be covering that in this video. Some features you can use is swiping to the right, which gives you the features to lock it, which basically means that if you decide to draw on it, nothing would happen. You could also duplicate the layer. You could also delete the layer. And if you tap it once, you have a bunch of things you can use, like clipping mask, alpha lock, reference, etc. But I'll have to cover that in another video if you're interested. Also, if you tap the little N, you have a bunch of like different modes for your layer. Quite a lot. But the three that you should know of is multiply, which is basically for if you have like a white background and a black item. Obviously, if you were to go underneath it, you wouldn't see anything. But by making it on multiply, it takes away the white background, so now you have the ability to see it. This is good for if you're downloading a colouring in page and you want to do it underneath the layer instead of over it. Next is linear burn, which I use for shading. We have our ball here, and we wanted to add some shading. If we were to make the layer on top of it to linear burn, and we'd use the exact same colour, it would give you a darker shade of that colour. We could make it any colour we wanted, but the linear burn will always just be a darker shade of it, which gives a really nice effect. Similarly, if you wanted shading, you could add, and this ultimately makes everything lighter. Once again, you can see it makes everything lighter. It even works on separate layers. This is really useful once again for lighting. And one more thing you could do is, we were talking about opacity on the brushes, but if you tap the N, you have your opacity levels right here. If you wanted to merge layers, which is ultimately having your two things on the same layer instead of having it on different ones, such as this, you would just squish them together, and to hide a layer, you just untick this tick box. This is called merging. And also, if you were on, let's say we were on red, and the history says we were on red, and we then went on to blue. If we wanted to go back to this red, instead of pressing and holding, we could also press and hold. So let's say I'm on the blue and I wanted to go back to the red, press and hold, and back to the red. Now that you know a couple of Procreate's features and how to use it, I'm going to give you a quick tutorial